Hello and welcome to Walk and Talk. This is Datin Risk. The date on the alien calendar is 3/134/24T1. And that means the date on the Gregorian calendar is Saturday, July 1st, 2023. Today I would like to talk about how the idea of Anlia and the idea of the camp parable was adapted to my modern life. I think this video is going to be too long if I go into Anlia that much and the camp parable that much, but it's already written down here. Anlia is the utopia of the camp parable. I had created the camp parable as an 11-year-old. It represented my struggle running away from camps and running away from summer camps, and which I applied the logic of to other camps such as schools, after schools, home, and eventually jobs, hobby groups, all sorts of things. I would maybe relationships. So it took that idea and it applied it to my already existing idea of wanting to create a nation that followed an original principle where everything that was not mathematically invariable between cultures would be changed to something original. And what I decided to change was the way that people choose where they are in life. Modern society has capitalism and democracy as how individuals choose where they are in life. But in Anlia, you choose where you are in life by breaking the law and being banished from all of the groups that have that law. Meaning that there really are no laws that cover the whole of Anlia. It would be in defiance of international law. Except for, of course, that the sect, the camp, cannot keep you from leaving if you so choose, and cannot hold you inside as a form of punishment. They must always banish you. But that's a law restricting the sect, not the people. So, how did I apply this to my modern life? Well, first I took the device that helps people move through Anlia, the WALG, or actually the personal infrastructure module. I created a drawing of it. See, here's the body where you live, and here's the part that collects the ions from the seawater to power the printer that produces all of your food. This is pronounced wa, and this is pronounced ailg. So together, they make the word whalg. So now whalg is the online word for sec, which is the Anlian version of camp. And because of this, I was able to write a lot in my sketchbook about this. I also introduced the word break, which in online is hauk, and that is and that is a picture of a broken door, because a lot of my biggest meltdowns involved broken doors, even on the part of my father before I was born. And I found that to be a good piece of symbolism because it's hard to predict. So this is ha, auk, hauk. So yeah, I wrote, everything I did wrong, the Halks, everything that might have been against the rules in a WALG that I was in, and now I'm kind of, and at the time, for 20 to 24, which is a distinct chapter in my life, Camp Parable, read all about it, for that time, I was mainly trying to develop therapies involving like EPT, expectation, promise, trigger, which determined how I was going to eliminate the repeating of patterns that led to breaks. I didn't write breaks then. I wrote them in English, and I just wrote expectation, what happened, what was my expectation, promise, what was my ultimatum before the trigger, what pushed me, what of my autistic traits pushed me over the edge. And I said, and I would find the commonality between 3 meltdowns and say, I'd find the commonality between 3 meltdowns, and I would say, okay, this is what I could do to make more expectations instead of making an ultimatum, or I can say, I can have an ultimatum like this will, like I will, at least I have the, basically the same as saying I'll melt down if I don't have, at least I'll have this cake in my lunch because it's my birthday, and I can add another one, say, or, I don't know, or I'll be able to have less homework because I went to my teacher today about something. I went to my teacher about a question. So, now I have 2 possible things, and I don't have to depend on one of them. This was also useful for developing my theory about why I was observing the pattern of meltdowns that I actually had, which was a term being 1 year for grade school, 1 semester for college, and 1 week for a day camp. We would, on my first term, like combining all statistics about the terms based on my vast collection of home video and sketches, which denote pretty much when meltdowns happened. I could say that I had a 13% chance of a meltdown the first term, 25% the second term, 40% the second term, and 60% every following term. I messed up the first, second, third, fourth, but I think I said them in the right order. So there's a question that I have, which is that really representing what I want to run away from? Am I running away from things that I don't like and being sent to places I do like? Or is every camp just good in the beginning and then bad at the end? And the answer is basically every camp is good at the beginning and bad at the end, but that's not my fault. In Amlia, the design banishing you from every camp that has the same law would have that effect. You have the in reality, my mom would just see that I was melting it down in a lot of camps and put me into autism camps or camps with a huge bureaucracy like the YMCA, and just and no matter how much I acted up, I wouldn't get out, because she just wasn't going to put in the effort to get me a new camp every 3 weeks. So I eventually also made an analysis of why I left camps, and they were really all over the place, but there were a lot of repeats, and I think the repeats would have been eliminated in that case. A lot of the times it had to do with, I don't know, I don't have the data right now. I mean, the data's here. Actually, the data is here, but I'd have to find it. It's on this computer. At the end of 2024, when I turned 25, I started to come up with a new system to try to figure out what a term of the home camp is. And the term of the home camp is a term of the home camp follows the Daton expansion theory of terms, which states that the term increases every time the total time reaches a large unit culturally used to define time. So it would be like 1 month, 2 month, 3 month. Actually, yeah, it would be. I mean, I usually do it 3 months at a time. You do the world 3 months at a time, so I'd say 1 month, 2 month, 3 month, 1 3-month period, 2 month period, 2 3-month period, 3-month period, and now we're on 4 3-month periods, so that's a year. So that's year. Then, because I measure the next unit in 4-year periods, 4-year, and then it reaches the end of an age on the hierarchy of ages, which is when which is my actual age rounded down to 3, 4, or 5 times a whole number powered of 2, and then it restarts. So I tested this. I created I looked at the data of whenever I had melted down and decided it roughly corresponded to the DTOT. Then I, because I was hitting to run away from things, I analyzed it as I used the probabilities from before applied to each term of the home camp, and I concluded that there was less than a 1% within a year. There was less than a 1% chance that if I still had the RIC, the tendency to hit my parents, there was a less than 1% chance that I would have gone that long without doing it in that particular frame of time. And that's when I decided to declare myself Hut Halkt, stop, break. And then I went on trying to discover new breaks, new things about breaks, and other things like breaks. I ended up calling the whole system Olan Liatlachs, which means the thoughts of the Olanlia, or Olsek. The Olsek being the role that I was also using to name my mother as someone who found the camps. And then and of course the thing that found the camps in Alien would be an algorithm that takes into account all your breaks. The first thing I came up with was a floating break. And a floating break... Actually, no. I came up with several things. The first thing... what was that thing that I came up with? The first thing that I came up with was, besides a standard break, was a proxy break. And a proxy break is a break that you have at home, not because you want to leave home, but because you want to leave a camp that is not allowing you to leave. The most classic example of a proxy break would be when I was in the 11th to 12th grade summer, and I had a camp, or actually no, I had a calculus class online for the summer. I got onto it late. At first, I tried to do it without reading the information, and I failed. But then I started doing it with reading the information, and I couldn't do it any faster than the class was normally supposed to go. But I was getting 96% on almost everything, and it was kind of leading me, it was kind of leading me in this pattern to a 96% grade. Just due to the way that the math works. And I realized I could actually finish this. I could actually get a good grade on this, but I'm 1 week late. And then when school starts, I might be able to finish it on time, but I have a week at the beach, and I can't do this at the beach. So if I skip the week before, which I already skipped, and I skip the week when I go to the beach, then I'm going to be well into the school year when I finish this, and that's going to be unacceptable, because then I'm going to have to do this whole other class, which takes me 6 hours a day in the 2 hours after class in 12th grade. So I obviously couldn't melt down in that camp because it's online, and I'm not even, Skyping with the teacher. I at home, threw the iron from the ironing board through one of my mom's paintings and shattered the Brita pitcher. I shattered the Brita pitcher. And that got my parents to get me out of the camp. I had been attempting these when I was 19. Actually, I'd been attempting these when I was 23 because I was trying to get out of work at my dad's printing press. I'm trying to figure out why I wanted to do that. I think it was more like it was just strenuous, and I couldn't do it for more than a few days at a time just because I wasn't assigned to. But then at the end of it, I would realize, I've got indents on my hands are all calloused. I don't know if I could have done this if I was assigned to do it, and then I would just think, every day I had a good day there. I don't know what my problem was really. But I was thinking, I guess I was thinking I want to go back to school eventually, really. And I did go back to school. And I am back to school. I'm out for the summer, but I'm back to school most of the time. But of course, I didn't go back to school until 2022, when I was 26, and I hood-hawked the hitting when I was 24. Or the last time was August 2023. Then there's this. Then there's the other things, like there's a delusional break. Well, actually, no, that's not until later. There's a. So I did proxy breaks, right? And next we have. I did proxy breaks. Next we have floating breaks. Floating breaks are when you think you've done something wrong, but nobody's accusing you of it. It's kind of like just distracting you. It's kind of just distracting you from what people actually don't like that you're doing. Like I stim like this. I clap my hands in the front and the back, and what would tend to happen is that I wouldn't be paying attention to where I was going. I'd just be thinking something in my own head. I'd walk past someone, and I'd be doing that, and I'd accidentally slap them on the ass. And apparently it happens a lot, or it happened a lot, but of course I would only really care when it happened with women, because then I would think, oh no, they're going to be thinking about that, and I would just sort of think about that for a really long time, and I wouldn't be able to realize that what people actually don't like is something like my keys jingling, or the sound of the clapping hands, or or tapping my foot, or something like that, which, earlier I would just say, look, in Amlia, that it makes sense, because because you can make a law, because in Amlia you could make a law about anything, and anything is equally relative to the person. So if you decided you don't like the sound of someone clapping their hands and you're autistic, you can just make a rule that you go to a different sect than the autistic people who stim. That's an alien thing. I'm gonna try to work on that now. Like actually not making noise, because I don't know if because I think that like it's I think I'm to the point where I can actually engage with that. The other thing about a floating break is a epic guilt. An epic guilt is just a floating break that, like, I think I've done something really horrible, but like whenever I tell someone about it, they think that sounds like a total delusion. Like, for example, I thought that I had killed Steve Jobs using dark magic, when in reality I never actually practiced what they would do as dark magic, or I've never even practiced like any established dark magic. All I did was say, like, to see Steve Jobs in the presenting to the people of a university when I was 12, say, hear that he has cancer, and then say, oh, and maybe even hear when he was gonna die, and say, or when people think he's gonna die, and say, oh, I want to be CEO of Apple by then. I hope he does. And then, and then, that day came and it happened, and I was like, yeah, that's an epic guilt. The other epic guilts are sexual in nature, so I'm not going to disclose them, but I have disclosed them to other people. Except for one, although I never really thought of that one. I don't know where I came up with it. Maybe it's a construction later. Yeah, it's probably construction later, because I never thought about that before. So, right now I have an epic guilt that I think about pretty much every day. And it originated around the time of 2018. Or 2017, I think. But I've been trying to work on that. Work on feeling guilty about that, because it's like, it's obviously garbage. Then I came up with the delusional break, which is not the same as an epic guilt, because an epic guilt is something that lasts for like 4 years. A delusional break is something that is somehow confirmed to have never have happened, or something that is highly unlikely happened once you consider the time of it. Once you consider the time that has passed and the lack of action that has been taken. I would say, so there are positive Olan Liatlachs too, and that's what I've been doing in my modern life. Is I've been trying to get from, or actually recently I did get from the I wrote down, what the most basic laws of Anlia were. And or the most basic laws in Anlia that you could move through sex based on were. And I came up with 8. I had problems in 3, and I conquered 2. One was, and problems in 3, which I considered Rick's. The first one I stopped. The second one was a delusional break. And the third one is, sure, a pretty big law in Anlia that people should be able to discriminate based on, but it's not a actual law in the United States. So I declared myself a member of the Center anyway last summer. The other thing, and so I'm not really Downton Risk anymore, I'm Downton Center, but I like Debt and risk sounds a little bit better. DR is better than DC. Yeah. So there are good Olan Liatlachs too. There is the Hachfa. And a Hachfa is like a mitzvah in Judaism. It's like something that you do, which is going to lead to, or is something that you do that's going to lead to a good habit. If you have a rick to the point that you're doing something bad every day, not doing it as a hachva. If you do have a, which is where most of my hachvas are, recently I've said, if you do a number of, if you check off everything on your to-do list, it's a hachva which I defined as hachva jalo. The things that I did bad every day that I did hachvas to not do certain days would be like eating meat, eating dairy, I don't know if I can say this, but masturbation. There was there's a hachva to eat a kosher meal because even though it is an alien system, it can be used for any religion, including Judaism. Or to eat kosher for an entire day. I'm yet to invert a hachva, which is something that I really want to do, and make it a rik to do, or make it a halk to do the thing that I used to do every day, to the point that it's only happening at most once a month. I would, and then later is, taken down. I have, there's a hachva for following the Sabbath day and not sketching. I'm making a video. Don't know. I think I could arguably say this doesn't count. Because it is Saturday. I would say that I'm looking for something more to do. Like, this summer I worked on I'm making noises. I worked on some constructions to understand things that I was failing at in school, such as finding buttons on the websites that I'm supposed to use, which is leading me to lag behind in my assignments that involve actually physically doing things, or finding out or actually using trial and error logic on circuit boards, on the construction of circuit boards. That's a big thing that I need to learn to do. Same process. Or the Hachva Jalo in particular is really good for defining sort of a nebulous to-do list instead of a rigid time scale for doing things, which might prove to be a better system for getting everything done, regardless of even if things are going to take less than an hour or mess up with my rigidity in the scheduling department. I could, but most of all, I've been looking, but more interestingly, in the camp parable, I've been looking at SecRics. SecRics are rics that have to do with the sec. And the idea is that a ric can be managed by fine tuning, or that something that you do, or actually a ric. A ric is a bad habit can be managed by making the bad habit inaccessible, and or by making a better habit accessible. And there's several ways to do this. You could create an ohilch, which is a construction that you put in the way of the bad habit, or you could create or you could just go to a sec that has that thing being legal, or not legal, but because we're not really talking laws anymore. We're talking like rules. The thing being okay. You have like if you loudly stim and you're in a room of people who loudly stim and aren't sensitive to sound, that's an example of a penal sec, something that a sec that just allows that thing. Then there's a hutwelg, a sec that stops the thing itself. Actually no. Hutwelg. What did I come up with? Because a sec that actually prevents you from being able to do the thing is a holding sec. I came up with this in 2020. But it might be but there was a separate one for like a sec that had a sec that had something that made you not want to do the thing. Or a sec that had an ohilch built in. The halk ohilch thing was actually I actually came up with the ohalk ohilch thing, or the wahalk ohilch thing. The wahalk ohilch construction is pairing an ohilch, a creation, with a wahalk, something that a sin of the world, something that the world does to you that's wrong. The wahalk ohilch, or the wahalk ohilch system is a system that's somewhat like the Anlin system, where you come up with a physical barrier, or you come up with something that provides the need. But the wahalk ohilch system actually works within Ongai systems, the non-Anlin system. It's not, completely separate. And thus it's also actually doable. An ohilch could be something you make, or it can be something you buy, or it can be something you do. But that's pretty much everything I've created. So I'll see you in the future, Future Danton.